Well, there's a cool guy. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know. You ever read this? He's a Greek guy, Diogenes.
I've heard of him. I don't
Yeah.
know anything about him.
He's a funny dude. There's this story that they say about Alexander the Great going off toward India and meeting Diogenes somewhere along the way. And Diogenes was like this wild guy who basically he owned next to nothing. He was sort of very anti-materialist, completely natural, go with your instincts kind of guy. And there's this story that Alexander really admired him and so wanted to meet him. And he goes in the marketplace. Diogenes is there playing sunbathing nude out there. And Alexander is all like, I heard so much about you. You're this great, amazing guy. I want to honor you. Let me tell you, anything you want on earth, I'll give to you. I conquered you chunks of the world. Anything you want, I'll give you. Diogenes replied, okay, grant me this one favor. Can you just step out of the sun, please? You're blocking the sun for me.
Oh!
And I was like, oh my God, that's badass.
That's badass. And it's also, it's incredible because it's a multi-layered statement, isn't it? It's
Right.
not just saying step out of it's my son. It's saying, who the fuck do you
Yeah.
think you are?
Yeah,
Do you really think that you're the sun? You think you're the light? You're
Right.
insane, man. Get out of the way. You're blocking the metaphysical light,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's and this is like I think the thing that is the ultimate, must be the ultimate infuriating realization for conquerors is because what Diogenes did right there is he pointed out just the pure absurdity of that kind of way of life.
Right.
And also he threw out this idea like you have to understand that you can't intercede in the forces
Right.
of nature. It doesn't really work.
Yeah.
That infuriates conquering types, doesn't it?
Yeah, because the dude is all about conquering, so I can grant you anything you want, and there's not a single thing that you can grant the dude that he doesn't already having nothing.
Right. He is what? Yeah. When you get to that state of realization, it's a strange place to get to. I bet, because it's like you've almost tricked all of society because there's no more. So many people are running off of this idea of conquering in
Right.
their own way. They're trying to conquer the world, always running to get this or that, and that place that you can apparently get to, which I certainly haven't attained,
Right.
but you read about it.
Right.
These people get to this place, they're like, no, I'm fine. Thanks,
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah. And it's a tough balance because when people are all anti-materialistic, at the same time, if somebody gives me a Hawaiian villa tomorrow, it's not that I say, oh no, I'm opposed. It's like, fuck, give it to me.
Yes.
By all means,
Yeah.
It's not so much the getting the stuff, is what you trade in exchange for that stuff. And most people trade all their time and energy.
Yeah.
And so then you chase this dream of happiness. Once I get there, I'll be happy. Once I'll have that. And in the process of trying to do that, you fuck up all your time and energy, which the only thing you really have as a human being is your time and energy.
Yeah.
So it's like, wait, that's what you're trying to do to be happy? That seems kind of self-defeating.
But I know people who are, I know people who are the prime example of that mode of being. I know people who are always seeking to gain success in show business.
Right.
And then when they get success, they're even more miserable.
Of course.
They get the thing that they're looking after, and they don't even get like a plateau. They go lower because when they get into the situation the place that they're trying to get into, when they gain access to the sacred cathedral, they go into the cathedral and it's filled with fucking assholes.
Right. Absolutely.
And they're getting more mistreated in the cathedral.
Yeah.
And then they think that then they try to get into a deeper level. They're like, okay, now I'm in the front gates of the cathedral, but clearly this is not the cathedral. I've got to get
Right.
into the inner sanctum
Yep.
of the cathedral. And now they're trying to get into the inner sanctum, and every level that they get to, they're more and more miserable.
And that's why you can't conquer the world, because it doesn't matter how much you conquer. There's always, you're not happy, and then you want more, and you can keep postponing the destination forever, and you never reach it.
You never reach it because you
not.
are the destination. But now I want to ask you about that, because that's not what we're talking about here is something that I've has been on my mind quite a bit lately. Because just understanding that you're not going to get to any destination through your material gain is not enough to doesn't make you happy. That's not a happy realization.
No, that's just making you not waste time, so that you think you have to jump through 7 million hoops before you can be happy.
Yeah.
You realize that it's not that you turn happy, because you're right. Yeah, that doesn't solve your problems. It just tells you where not to go looking for it. But as far as where to look for it, yeah, I mean, I think that's the whole Diogenes story. That's what it's about, is you're gonna be miserable or you're gonna be happy whether you have $7 gazillion or nothing. It's a lot easier when you have $7 gazillion because your life is much more comfortable.
Yes.
But the point is, it's not that you're gonna discover it once you have that. It's you either discover it on your own somehow, which there's no recipe, you know. It's not that if somebody can say, oh, do 1, 2, and 3 and then you'll have happiness. Well, easier said than done, you know? But finding that is completely separate from how easy your life can be, you know.
Well, but see, here's this. Actually, I just read this. Coincides with what we're talking about. I just read this. I'm on the Ram Dass mailing list, and he sends these things called words of wisdom.
Right.
And he sent this story as a Zen story of a kid is talking to a Zen priest and saying, how long will it take me to gain enlightenment? And the Zen priest says 10 years. And then he says, but I'm going to work harder than anyone else to gain enlightenment. How long will it take for me to get enlightenment? He says, well, 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, what the fuck? You know, right.
He's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And the Zen master says, well, it's because, you know, he's like, why would it take longer? He's like, well, it's because you're going to have, you'll have, because one of your eyes is always going to be on the destination,
right,
instead of both of your eyes
yep,
on the journey.
Yep.
So that is a great story,
right?
But let's talk about it in real life, because I went to the gym today, and I think the gym's a great place to it's like a kind of temple-like place where you can really understand your mind, because when you're working out, you can watch your mind go from the task at hand, which is just this dumb, brutish, simple, repetitive task. You're just pushing heavy weights. That's it. And you can watch your mind, and as you're pushing the heavy weights, your mind is either focusing on the moment of lifting the weights, which is the best,
right,
or it's thinking about the next exercise you have to do, or it's thinking about what you're going to do after the gym,
right, or
it's thinking about how you want to look, or it's thinking about what effect you want to have. And every time it goes away from the exercise itself, the exercise diminishes, and you're not getting as much out of the exercise as if you would if you could just be there.
Yep.
But how the fuck do you keep the mind from wandering in that way?
And and that's the golden $1 million question, because there really is no how. It's at some point, somehow you get it. If somebody tried to tell you step 1, 2, and 3, there is no method. Otherwise, it would be simple, right? Everybody would do it every second. But at the same time, it doesn't mean it can't be done. But I think it's done through, it's such an internal, subjective thing that there can't be an objective standard to teach you how to do it.
Yes.
It's a mountain of trial and error, and hopefully you get it somehow. And then you get it is always relative, because then you lose it again.
Yes.
And then you get it again. Once you get it, it's probably easier to get it again.
Yes.
But it's not like you are perfect forever after that. It's like it's gonna keep showing up over and over, and
you massively lose it. You
Yeah,
don't just
of
lose.
course.
You don't just lose it in a little way.
No.
You can massively lose
Yeah.
it, and it's almost like if you gain that momentary focus in life, that thing wherever you get all the engines firing, and you're experiencing that kind of beautiful acceleration. It's almost like there's more potential to lose it in an even greater way than you could have lost it had you never started out on this strange quest, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. That's why if you go all the way, because a little awareness is only gonna fuck you up.
It will fuck you up. You have to go for it all the way.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Isn't that death? Isn't that ego death, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's not fun. It's not pleasant. It's necessary in some way, but it's definitely not a fun experience. No, but I completely agree with you, and that's why it actually freaked me out when you brought up the temple image for the gym, because as you mentioned the gym, I'm like, The temp. I'm like, oh fuck, he just
Oh, you were gonna say
stole the line
temple?
out of my brain. What the hell, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree completely. To me, it's that feeling because it's physical exercise to me. I mean, if somebody tomorrow gave me the power never to lift 1 pound and have the perfect body, would be nice. But at the
Yes.
same time, that's not the point. You know, to me, 99% of exercise is how it's about consciousness. It's how it clears your head, how it puts you in the moment, how it makes it. To me, it's a meditation. You know, to me, is something that few things like it. Sweating, you know, just
Yes.
good old-fashioned sweating, getting shit out of you through sweat. Man, it feels awesome, and it clears your head better than 10,000 years of reading books about spirituality. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? To me, it's more spiritual sweating like a pig after lifting weights than
Yeah.
being in cross-legged trying to, I must relax. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, good
you know?
luck. But I think that that's a funny thing about people who get into spirituality
Mm-hmm.
is that they will spend countless hours reading books,
Right.
and it's there's just, since it seems like spirituality is this kind of like has meditation or gaining a state of heightened consciousness or whatever you want to call it. It's a kind of more ephemeral version of what you're doing at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're never going to gain any muscle by reading books about lifting weights.
Right. Of course.
No one ever got in shape
Right.
reading about bench pressing.
Yeah.
Yet so many spiritual people
Right.
spend all their time with their face in a fucking book,
Right.
and that's it.
Yeah.
There's no practice.
And that's the big problem. That's why to me is reading is reading is good because it stimulates you, it pumps
Yeah.
you up, it makes you want to go for it, you know.
Yeah.
Even like with something like the gym or martial arts or whatever, you know, reading about it stimulates you,
Yes.
fire off some neurons that make you want to go for it.
Yeah.
And it also deepen the experience a little bit. As you are in it, you may be able to go deeper thanks to it.
Yeah.
But if all you ever do is read, yeah, come on, you know, it's like reading the menu without getting to order the food. Like, that's not gonna
hilarious.
satisfy you, you know. It's
Yeah,
like, you
it's like
can-
sitting around reading the finest menus
Yeah.
from the nicest restaurants, and then that's it.
and arguing about it, you know. No, look, my chicken with beets is way better than it's like, who the fuck cares? You know, are you eating it
Yeah.
or not? It's
Right. And that's the danger of I think that's the dangerous aspect of spirituality, is that it's so easy to think that you're doing something
yep.
when
yep.
you're not doing anything at
Yeah.
all. At all.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter if you can quote the Bhagavad Gita or the Bible or the fucking
No.
Quran or whatever it is. It's like, what are you doing when you're not in your house?
Exactly.
And what's going on in your mind? And that's you know, that to me, I'm by the way, I'm talking about me.
Right.
I'm not talking
No,
about.
no, I do the same thing, totally.
Yeah.
But that's why it's good to be aware of it, so we don't overdo it in that direction, and we kind of keep a balance, because that's what it's about. I mean, to me, spirituality is, you read about it, you do even some practices, but the point is, it's not even the practice. It's how you are when you play with your kids or when you meet your neighbor down the street. That's spirituality to me. It's like how it translates into day-to-day life.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just some dream escape that you might as well just drop acid day and night, and you can have your wild trip and it's fun, but it
Yeah.
doesn't, unless it translates in your daily life in who you are, then it's just entertainment. You know, it's like watching a movie.
What are some things people could do? Like if you could tell someone a few things that they could do as an exercise this week to get them their nose out of the books, or get them out of their mind space and into the physical arena when it comes to like spirituality.
Yeah.
What's some stuff people can do?
I mean, I'm partial to, I think it's huge to have a good relationship with your body. That's why
Right.
to me, and not even, again, getting in shape or looking good, these
Yeah.
are nice things, but they are side effects.
Side
you know,
effects.
it's like, to me, is doing something that can, it is not playing golf. That's not it's not a sport, it's not a physical practice. You're not sweating like crazy. I'm
Right.
talking about stuff that's intense. Whatever you like. Run, do martial art, lift weights, do yoga, whatever that may be. But something that forces you to focus because it's so damn intense, something that involves all your energy. that get rid of all the extra weird stress you have floating in your body and you just sweat it out. That in itself, to me, is step one to any discussion of spirituality before anything else, because it puts you in a different mental frame.
Right.
You know, it's then is, to me, other things are how you interaction with people. You know, like one good game I like to play is just in terms of reading people that you have no idea who they are, you don't know who the hell, just taking a look at them. Better if you have somebody next to you who know them, and you get a sense of whether you're projecting a bunch of bullshit on reality when you look at reality, or if you can actually see somebody for who they are.
Wow.
And
that's cool.
if you can do that, that means you have cleansed yourself enough that you can really, when you look at stuff, you're seeing it for what it is.
Right.
And if instead you're going off on some random bullshit that doesn't correspond, that's your proof that you are on a mental trip and you need to.
Right. That's fucking cool, man. Yeah, that is a huge problem with people. I was just talking to someone who was telling me that, you know, I could tell, he's like, I can tell right away if I'm going to be friends with someone, if I can be friends with them.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, that's good if you're right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But if you're fucking wrong
Yeah.
and you're slapping down some bad projection, you're missing out on a big part of the world.
Of course. That's why to me it's fun to do it, play this game when you have somebody who knows somebody.
Right.
So that when you're commenting about such and such person, they can tell you you're out of your mind, you have no idea what you're talking about, or how the fuck did you know that, you know?
Right.
And when you get it, you seem like you're psychic, and you're not, because you're just, it's right there, you know, it's on their face, you see it's who they are.
You
and
see it, you see the sadness, you see the happiness, you see whether they're lazy, you see whether they work hard, you can see what, you can always tell. So that's good. So a hard physical exercise, beginning to understand if what you're seeing is a projection of your own neurosis or the world. Right. So there's two. Now what's something people can do that's risky? Because that's another thing, man. That thing where you, and I haven't had one of these moments in a long time. Quite often it's just simple as like asking a girl out on a date that you're scared to ask out on a date. But you know that thing where it's you overcome a fear block?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the... fear is the big one to me, because so much of life is limited by our fears.
Yes.
And we shrink to be in the shadow of who we can be because of our fears. And we all do it, because, I mean, fears are justified. Usually fear is because we're afraid of some bad outcome that feels like crap and we don't want to feel it.
Yes.
And so it's natural. But at the same time, the point is, doesn't matter how much you protect yourself, doesn't matter how much you try to avoid it, your worst outcomes are gonna come true in one way or another.
Right.
If it's not now, it's because you get old and fragile, or because you die, or because you're loved, whatever the fuck. But something is gonna happen that's gonna kick you in the balls regardless. So to me, facing the fact that all your fear is only protecting you from life, is not protecting you from danger, because danger will find you anyway.
Yes.
It's scary. It's a weird realization, because it's like, ooh, fuck, all the stuff I'm afraid of is gonna come true. Ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
You know. But at the same time, it's like Buddhism. You know, it starts with the realization that there's a mountain of suffering in life and that you can't escape it. Yes. Once you deal with that, then you can get rid of fear, because what's left to be afraid of? That bad things will happen? Well, bad things will happen. So what? You know. And at that point, it forces you to take some damn chance, you know, go off and jump off a cliff with bungee jumping or something, or ask a girl, you know, whatever that may be that scares you, but you want to do, you know what I mean? Fucking do it. You know, you're going to be dead soon anyway.
Right.
Play at least. Have fun in the process.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Totally, yeah. This is the problem. Bad things do happen, and confrontation does happen, but I find that, like, it does still, man. It's still, you still end up with this icky. I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. Like, you still end up, like, bad things fucking happen in a moment, and then whatever the thing is, you know, you end up, who knows what it is. Sure. It's different for everybody. But how do you deal with that anxiety or that icky feeling? How do you can you eliminate it, or is it just a matter of accepting it as a aspect of existing?
I think you reduce it enough that you can act despite the feeling. Because,
Yes.
I mean, it's not like you're going to be, I have no fear. No, you're going to have fear, but you act anyway.
Well, fear is a requisite for being
Right.
a hero, right?
Exactly.
If there
It's
was
like-
no fear, if someone wasn't afraid of anything, then there would be
Yeah.
nothing that, like, what's
No.
the big deal?
Yeah, exactly. So it's, no, I mean, I think is maybe somebody can do it. I can't. So good luck if somebody can have no fear. I'll have fear anyway, but the point is acknowledge that, yeah, so fucking what? You know, I understand why you're here, but you're not going to control me. I'm going to go for it anyway. Maybe shaky, maybe tense, maybe
Yeah.
feeling like shit, I'm taking a bitter bite that I can chew kind of thing. But
Yeah.
go for it anyway. Because, I mean, really, when you think about it, you're going to be dead in no time. And then it's like, what are you waiting for, you know?
And the paradox is, this is the thing that's the paradox, is that quite often when you make the big leap, amazing things come to you.
Yep, absolutely.
Not all the time.
No,
Sometimes you make
definitely
the
not.
leap and you end up eating fucking
Yeah,
shit.
exactly. And you have to accept that. You know,
Yes.
you can't just say, "Oh, I'll make the leap because good things will happen."
Yeah.
No, there's no because. There's
nothing.
no.
If there was a because, it
Yeah.
wouldn't be a heroic leap.
Exactly.
This is a leap of faith. This is
Yeah.
what they talk about, the
Yeah.
leap of faith. And it's a there's no way around this leap of faith. There's no way to know what's at the bottom of
No.
the cliff. It's a cliff that's got clouds under it.
Right.
You don't know what's under the clouds.
And the point is not even that under the clouds you'll discover this wonderful world and live happily ever after. I mean, if it happens, great, that's awesome. But the point is you don't control it anyway, so play in the process, have a bunch of fun. For that 3 seconds before you collapse, at least you can have a big smile on your face, you know what I mean? It's like, just, because who knows, you know, there's no, if you start calculating too much, you're out of luck, you know. And I do that a lot because
Me
I
too.
don't like conflict. I'm a control freak. I like to play strategy to avoid, you know,
Yes.
makes life easier. But at the same time, I also have to remind myself that as much as that makes life easier, you can't escape all the problems because you won't. And so what's the day when you can't play your smart strategy to avoid issues and when you have to deal with it? So once in a while, might as well just go for it, you know, even though you could come up with something to just deal with it. And if you go down in flames heroically.
And yeah, man. And you know what? It would be worse than not having that thing to be afraid of, is having nothing to accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's hell.
Yep.
If you find yourself in a situation where there's no barrier, no obstacle,
Right.
nothing to climb out of, no pit that you dug to climb back out of, or no shitty job to like rise out of, or no bad marriage to transform or escape from, or no enemy to overcome.
Right.
You might as well be in a coma,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean,
No girl that's way out of your league to try to woo.
right.
Ugh.
Yeah, sorry, I can't help you in that department because all girls are just, I snap my fingers and they're all in my
know.
feet. So
I can
it's-
see it when the thing about looking at someone and
Right.
knowing what they're like. When I look at you, I think, my God,
No, it's not that easy.
swarms of beautiful women must.
Yeah.
No, I mean but look, that's a thing that I think people don't realize is how when you become aware of an impending battle,
Right.
and the adrenaline starts pumping, and you know you've got to go for it in some way or another. People don't realize what a gift that is, or how beautiful that is, and how much that elevates you.
Right.
As opposed to the numb blank.
Yeah.
There's nothing for me to do anymore. You see these trust fund kids. I saw a documentary on trust fund kids, the children of the richest of the rich, and they're just all fucked up.
Right.
And just out of it. They
Right.
seem so sedated and just ruined by there's nothing there for them, it seems like, or they haven't found anything.
Yeah, which to me is weird because I like it all, you know what I mean? Pain, good stuff. In no way, shape, or form I have any kind of masochist tendency. I gladly, you know, spend my days diving into ice cream and, you know, all the pleasure, fun,
Yes.
comfortable stuff. I'm all for it. But at the same time, if somebody tells me all the horrible things in your life will happen again, each one of them, and all the good stuff that happen in your life will happen again, each one of them, I would go for it anyway. like, let's do it again. It was a fun ride. Despite, because to me, even feeling like crap, I don't want to say I like it, because I certainly don't, but it's what's being alive is all about, feeling stuff. It's
Right.
intensity. It's feeling that burn. Good burn, ecstatic burn, ugly, tragic burn, but
Yeah.
that's being alive. Otherwise, what's the point, you know? If you don't feel anything, you're just floating through things without any...
You're
not
nothing.
attractive. Yeah.
It's better to, yeah, for sure. And it is a burn.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it, man. It's a goddamn burn. And it sucks sometimes.
Oof.
It's the worst of the worst, man. But there's this is an affliction, though. This is kind of the affliction. This is what you're talking about is reminds me of the Myth of Sisyphus by Camus.
Right.
And you know about this, of course. Sisyphus, maybe you can describe it better than I can. Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill.
And then it keeps going. Is that...
That's the story. Sisyphus, a man cursed by the gods to push a boulder up a hill and watch it roll back down.
Right.
Pushes the boulder up, rolls back down. Pushes it up, rolls back down. And Camus wrote an excellent essay on this called The Myth of Sisyphus.
Right.
And to try to answer the question, well, why the fuck does he keep pushing that boulder back up the hill? And I think Camus said he's happy doing this. He's found, even though what he's doing is this absurd, meaningless activity,
Right.
he's found in the act itself, he's found his own happiness. And also, I was just talking with someone about this the other day. They said there's an element of defiance in it.
Right.
So another thing that's fueling Sisyphus is as he's rolling the boulder up the hill, he's also saying, fuck you to the gods.
Right.
Like, I'm going to be pleased. I'm going to be as pleased with this as
Right.
any of the other bullshit you had to offer me.
That's a cool read of it. I like that because, in my mind, I was thinking when you describe it, it's more like that's the life of a good chunk of human beings. Just work some shitty job that you don't care for because it pays the bills.
Yes.
Why do you do that? So I can have more money to do the things I want, except I don't have time, so I'll have to spend more time doing the work I don't want to do. It becomes this vicious cycle, and it's ugly and nasty. And in this way, the way you read it, it's actually kind of cool. It's a way of finding something good, regardless of what you're doing. And
meaning in the absurdity.
Yeah.
This is this isn't. I mean, it's not the way I'm reading. I think it's an existentialist idea, which is look. Here's what it boils down to, and it boils down to this horrifying thing. The horrifying thing is, if you decide there's no transcendent external truth in life, but there's only your own subjective interior realizations, you are now in the land of absurdity because there's nothing to find, nothing to realize. You're not going to realize anything because nothing means anything.
Right.
So your search for some kind of exterior truth is absolute futility and pointless. So you're fucked.
Yeah.
You're in the land of absurdity.
Right.
There's no way out of it, no real meaning in life except what you give life.
Right.
And so now that's the balm or the answer to it is like, no, in that complete and devastating loss, there's this opportunity for triumph over the nothingness where we project our own meaning into
Absolutely.
things.
Where, to me, that's power. When in the middle of the worst shit in the world, you can find something to laugh about and smile.
Yeah.
Man, you're the man. You got it.
You got it.
Yep.
You did it.
Yep.
In the midst of all the lunacy,
Yep.
if you can find something to laugh about or to find stability in or find some in your own self,
Yep.
not only did you are you a conquering hero in that sense, but also you can transform everyone around you
Absolutely.
because they're going to look at you and be like, why isn't he freaking out?
And that to me is another one of the things when earlier you were asking about practices and I was saying, the body and reading people, all of that. To me, a big one is also, and I don't want to sound cheesy, new agey stuff, but to me, having an element of kindness and empathy and just wanting to, especially if you work like a dog, you find a way to be happy in the middle of shit to then spread it to other people or at least put it out there so that if they feel like it, they can jump on it.
Yeah.
That's to me spirituality. It's because ultimately it boils down to making yourself happy, making people around you happy. Doesn't get any better than that. That to me is the point.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. It's those weird moments of like, you can do crazy shit that is actually not that crazy. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here because I never do stuff like this, but on a whim, I brought my neighbors some organic strawberries today. And like, it's just a weird thing going over to your neighbor's house and you're like, what am I doing? Am I fucking, look at me. I like look like I'm going to kill them. They're going to call the cops. And I knock on the door and their dogs start barking and a frightened kid, like, because like, that's a bearded guy coming to the door with fucking strawberries in his hand. It's like some Hare Krishna cult thing. Some cult thing. You think you're about to get...
Yeah.
But my neighbor, she came to the door and her face just lit up. And she was like, thank you. And then you see the kid isn't scared.
Right.
The kid's excited because the kid knows he's going to get he's about to eat some strawberries. And it was this novel moment. And it was amazing. It was so fucking simple. You know, it's those things, you know, like moving past the barriers of what you think is the way you're supposed to be, to start jumping the fences and doing kind things.
And that goes back to fear element, you know, the fear that people are going to look at you weird, or that it's like once you get over those fears, then you can do things like that's daring in a way. Not the same as jumping off a cliff kind of thing, but it's daring anyway, because you're stepping out of the comfort zone of normal day-to-day interaction, and you can do something that's cool, that's nice.
And I know I talk about it too much. I always talk about slaying your vampires or slaying your dragons, or that stuff's great. But it's not all about the aggressive, offensive assault. It's also the courage to like do nice things to people that you would normally never do.
But to me that goes hand in hand, because people who are just nice and sweet, they can be nice and sweet, but when reality is gonna roast their way, when the dragon awakens, so to speak, they are gonna shrink because they don't know how to deal with it, and they are gonna get squashed by it. So all your niceness can only go so far, because you can be bullied by reality. Somebody who's this tough, strong guy can handle the dragon, but then you're just an asshole unless you have the sweet soft side. You're tough, you're effective, but so what? So to me, like, going on the archetype of the the warrior, the princess, and the dragon, to me it's about having both. You have to have your warrior side, otherwise reality will kick you in the balls over and over again. And you need to have your princess side, so to speak, because that's the sweeter, softer, gentler part that allow you to ultimately be kind, enjoy life, feel love, feel something. And one without the other is very incomplete, to say the least. And I don't think it even works very well.
It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't work at all.
No.
People who are always nice underneath it, there's a fucking... They're always... Something's always rotting in them. And people who've got too much testosterone are just fucking boring.
Yeah, precisely.
But when you find the mix of the two, that's pretty fucking cool. That's a great mix. And also, there's dragons in people too. Let's not forget that. We're talking about the masculine, the feminine, and then the dragon is the id. It's the darker, the foul, dark thing that lurks in your heart.
Fear, ego, all of it. All of the dark, ugly things that step in between you being a nice human being and be able to have a good life. And whether they are external obstacle, sort of the external dragon, or the internal one, the one that comes from within. But it's everything that basically stands between you and happiness. And
let me ask you this. This is a question I've been thinking about a lot. What if you don't know what you want?
That to me is a big one, because that to me is what you should do all through school. Spend your days making lists of what is that makes me happy. And you can start as, picking strawberries in the garden, whatever. It doesn't have to be a productive activity. But what is that turns you on, makes you happy, makes you feel satisfied when you do it? Go through list and list and list of these things, so that you then start pursuing those activities and try to figure out how you can have a life that it's in sync with those things. We never ask that question. You know what I mean? All through school, all through... People don't stop to ask you too much what the hell it is that makes you happy. I remember once I had this conversation with it was way long time ago. I was graduating college. I just met this woman. She was about to graduate, and we are chatting, and she gave me this really bad vibe, right? There was something ugly and evil about her, but she was ridiculously hot. So I was like, who the fuck cares? You're a sweet, nice person. Let me get to know you, right?
Yeah.
But I kept feeling this vibe of like evil. There's something bad there. And I started asking her, what is that makes you happy? Let's cut the bullshit. Who essentially, what are you about? And I remember her saying, I don't have time to figure out what makes me happy. I just want to start making money. And I stopped 1 second and I was like, fuck, nobody's hot enough for me to put up with this shit.
Right.
This is scary. You're what, 22 or something, and you don't have time to figure out what makes you happy?
Yeah.
When do you think you're going to have time? When you start working 40, 50, 60 hours a week for 50 weeks a year until you're 65?
Yeah.
That's when you're going to have time to figure
Right.
it out. Before you know it, you are food for the worms because you're dead and you have lived somebody else's life.
Yeah.
It's like, and so to me, you bring up the essential question that everybody should start asking themselves from the time they can read and write to forever.
now.
Exactly.
But it's not an easy question. And
No.
also, some of the things that make me happy are not good for me. Some of the things that make me happy are self-destruction.
Sure.
So what about that? What if the things that make you happy do not match what you would need to be healthy?
Well, then I guess that's basic math, and I hate math, but still, if you realize I get 10 pleasure, but I get 300 pain after that, well, that's not a good math. You know what I mean? It's like...
There's a comedian I love named Doug Stanhope.
Uh-huh.
He's one of my... Do you know him?
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite comics on the planet. And I don't want to butcher his joke, but he's got this fucking hilarious joke about addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And he says... with addiction, let me think how it goes. Addiction, it's not that it's a disease. Forgive me if I'm butchering this joke, you guys. I'm sure if you look it up, you can find it. With addiction, it's not that it's a disease. It's that some things are better than life.
Right.
It's so genius. It's so genius. But it's like that's we want the things we want
Right.
to be stability and a nice life.
Right.
But what if what you really want is just to be blasted on ecstasy, fucking tramps? That's not me, by the way.
Sure.
That isn't what I want. I wish it was what I want,
Right.
because I think that's a fairly easy
That would be
thing
simple,
to obtain.
right,
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, not everyone their desires. Sometimes your desires are is what you want and your desires the same thing?
No, I mean, in that sense is if you really feel that doing something that's really not good for long-term survival, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
If you just want your 5 minutes of glory and that's it, who the hell am I to tell you no?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, if in those 5 minutes you have the time of your life more than somebody who's worked 9 to 5 at some shitty job they hate
Yes.
will have for the next 50 years,
Yeah.
I'm supposed to tell you no.
Right.
I mean, it's not me, so I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I don't get the let's get 5 great minutes and fuck it all up.
Yes.
So I don't understand it, but again, I don't need to. Because as long as it makes you happy and you feel that that's a good thing and you don't fuck somebody else in the
Yes.
process, that's the key element. As
Right.
long as you don't fuck somebody else in the process, go for it.
Do you? Because I think that people. I think that it's an easy thing to think. Yeah, I just don't know what I want. But
Yeah.
isn't that kind of lying to yourself? Like, if you really sit down and mull over
No.
the things that make you happy, which is, I like that you said that, because that's such a simple thing to do. What makes you happy? It's really easy to figure that out. It
Yeah, in
doesn't
fact, backtracking to the question about
Yeah.
spirituality that you're asking,
Yeah.
this to me is one of the key things. After you got your workout, you cleared your mind, you sweated, you did this and that, figuring that out, sitting down, pen and paper, writing down every single thing that goes through your mind that's connected with happiness, how you see yourself being happy, that to me is the key homework for life.
Yeah.
Everything else you're ever gonna do in school, at the job, or whatever, it's a very distant second compared to this.
So
you guys know what to do, motherfuckers.
Go
Stop listening to this podcast.
and
Get
write
on
down,
with
go,
it.
Yeah,
and-
go write down what you want. But there's something so glorious and refreshing when you come upon someone who's not conflicted.
Mhm.
You know, like someone who just knows what they want and they're just going for it and that's who they are. I very rarely run into those people. I've very, very rarely run into those people in life. Usually people are either completely unaware of what they're doing or they feel guilty about what it is that they want and are pretending they want something else.
Yep, absolutely.
I've known people who want what they want, not because they still want it, because they wanted it for so long.
Right.
They feel like if they stop wanting it now, they've failed.
Yeah. It's like, let's continue down a shitty path because otherwise that's never a good policy, definitely.
But that's so many people get caught up in that where so people will devote years in seeking out something, and during the course of those years the realization will dawn in their mind that this isn't what they ever wanted at all.
Right.
But they're identified as whatever that career path is, that thing is. Now what do you do?
And that's where, to me, identity is a dangerous beast. Because once you start believing in some external label of what defines you, that's where you are missing the whole point, which is you are in constant flux, you're constant change, and you need to go with what's going on here and now, not with some ideal projection that you created at some point in the past and it's no longer real. That's how all religions are born, how all rituals are born that no longer have life. You know, people go through the motion because, well, it made sense at some point, so we should keep doing it forever. It's like, it made sense 3,000 years ago, and now it doesn't, so get on it. Do something else.
Yes.
And, that type of stuff is... but you know what? It reminds me, I just had this flashback when you were talking about people who do what they want. I remember I was in an airport sometime, catching a flight, and there was this... couple of big, humongous bodybuilder dudes, and one guy then approached this bodybuilder because I guess he was famous or something and started asking him questions. And one of these guys was just so damn happy, and he was saying, like, you know what, years ago I saw this cover of this magazine, bodybuilding thing, and I said, that's exactly what I want, and I started going, and it made me so happy, made me feel so good, and so I've been doing it ever since. And, you know, that's not what I would want to do. The dude even has a weird body that, you know, physically and in every level is not really my path. But you could tell that it was his path because the dude had just this big, real smile. Not fake shit, not something he's projecting. Is really what makes him happy. So go lift some weight, big boy. Just makes you happy. Go for it.
Do it.
Absolutely.
See, this is in the Bhagavad Gita. There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that says it's better to be an honest street sweeper than a dishonest king. And that means you're gonna be so much happier if you let yourself entertain for a daring moment the idea that maybe what you've been working on for years is not your thing.
Right.
You don't want it.
Yep.
You really don't want it.
Right. Yep.
And then that exciting moment of like, oh shit, I could reinvent myself right fucking now.
Yep.
Be anything I want right fucking now.
I love those moments where you feel like everything can happen and you have no idea what's going to happen the next day. And you feel like your whole life is scary because you don't know shit about what's going to happen in 2 hours.
Yeah.
But that means also that everything can happen. And there's this sense of freedom is amazing.
It's so exhilarating.
Yep.
And it's you know what it is, man? You're suddenly alive for a second.
Yep.
Instead of being this husky, this old fucking snake skin. It's like a snake shedding its skin, but instead of getting out of its skin, it's just keeping that old dry, withered shit skin on it as long as it can. It's like, I spent years building this skin. I'm not going to get rid of it. When underneath that skin is have you ever seen a snake that's just shed its skin? It's so shiny and like some of the colors are so much more vibrant, and
there's life, right?
There's life. Yep. You gotta shed that fucking skin, man. Don't cling to that shit.
Nope.
It's so good to know people who are crazy because it helps you. It gives you like, it gives you. But I'm sure I'm crazy too.
But crazy happy and crazy depressed, very different kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, man. Crazy depressed. No, thank you. No. Crazy happy, such a joy to be around a crazy happy person.
Yep.
They're so great. A crazy depressed person, ugh. By the way, for those of you who are depressed out there, I understand, man. I go in and out of it too, and it's rough. There's like because when you're in that situation, a depressed situation, you're in a survival You're in a survival situation.
Yeah.
Very similar to being out in the woods. And the first thing you need when you're out in the fucking woods, if it's cold, you need a fire. You need shelter and a fire.
Yep.
And the way you start a fucking fire is you take a flint if you have it, or anything to make just one little fucking spark.
Yep.
That's all you need, man. One little spark, one little fucking spark.
Right.
And that spark, if you're careful, that can start a fire again, and that fire can warm the ice that's frozen you.
Yep.
That's cool, man. I like that idea. I think that there's like, you can do another thing I've heard, which I've actually done that kind of works, is the reverse action, where you start doing the exact opposite of what you want to do when you're in a depressed state. So if you're stuck in you're stuck in the gravity of your bed, even though it's like hell and you feel like dying and you would just don't want to do it, you get out of bed and fake smile and then start moving or jumping, or just, it's so absurd. And especially when you're depressed, it seems so ridiculous, but you just start moving, just fucking shake and move, and like.
And that's where, to me, the body comes into the place, because, the mind by that point is shut to shit.
Yes.
There's nothing that you can tell yourself that's gonna make sense, or you should relax, or you should do this. Like, nothing makes sense.
Yes.
But if you can just use the minimum tiny spark of just acting without believing in anything, without thinking positively, without anything, just doing something. In that case, sweat, work out, do something that's exactly the opposite of what you want to do. That in itself clears you of so much shit that then it makes it much easier to take the next baby step.
Right.
And because think about it, it's like the fact that you go work out and an hour or two later you feel you have a different take on your problems, it makes no sense, because you haven't done anything to solve your problems. But physiologically, the fact that you fire off all your endorphins, the fact that you're not just, you even take pride in the fact that you move your ass and you got something going and you have that energy physically, it makes it so much easier to then make the mental leap to step out of the deepest darkness where you were. It helps a bunch. So to me, it's like when nothing else works, the body is huge.
Huge. It's absurd almost.
Yeah.
When you have been depressed for a while, and because I've had this happen where I've been deeply depressed, and just out of not wanting to do it, but just out of a sense of like, fuck it, I don't care, but I'm gonna go fucking just run. I'm just gonna go run. And I don't want to run.
Right.
And you're running and it sucks, and then you're running, and then that one, maybe when you're running, when you're exercising, you cross, you turn that corner, all of a sudden you're like, oh, this feels pretty good.
Yep.
And then at the end of that, within like 5 minutes after having finished your run, all of a sudden you're like, I feel fucking great.
Right. Yeah.
And then that's its own absurdity, because it's like, seriously, that's all it took?
Right.
Just jogging for a half hour?
Right. Yeah.
Is that how easy this fucking organism that I am is?
Right.
That's a bit frustrating.
No, that's a trip right there. And and maybe, you are really screwed. You can't run and your body is messed up and there's something that you can't. Then, you have to play other mental games to try to, and whether it is the finding the power and not checking out, or whether maybe you as a person have this strong defiant spirit, so it perks you up when you feel the fuck you moment to everything and everyone in the world that you feel like is trying to squash you.
Yeah, brother. Like, that's it. That fuck you moment. That's Sisyphus is saying fuck you to the gods.
Right.
It's like, okay, you're gonna fuck it. You think you're gonna put me in this shit body, in this shit life, in a fucked up situation? Guess what? You will not conquer me. You're not gonna beat me. You're not gonna get me in this fucking way. And that anger can push you out of it.
Absolutely.
In the most glorious way ever.
I love that feeling.
I do too.
I think one of my lines of everything I have written, there was this one line that I threw down somewhere that's about, let me see if I can remember correctly, something about answering hopelessness with a defiant smile and a raised middle finger.
Yeah.
And I was like, that to me is my motto. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, because it's not denying that there's hopelessness out there. Fuck, I'm way too familiar with ugly, nasty things.
Yes.
So it's not that I have this new agey, be happy, everything is good,
Yeah.
don't be. It's like, no, man, I know dark stuff,
Yeah.
but at the same time, that feeling of you get a smile when you raise your middle finger and say, you know what, fuck you, I'm still gonna have 1 second in which I'm gonna be happy.
Yeah, man.
And it's empowering.
It's that goal. It's like in sometimes this happens in like war movies or it happens in fucking horror movies, but it's the moment where the protagonist is backed into the wall against all odds.
Yep.
And somehow that realization turns everything around, and in that last moment of fighting, you see this light in their face, or they're just for once they're fucking happy. That's the war, isn't it? That's what they say. That's the fucking that's the glory of war.
Yep.
Only in this case, the war isn't against.
No, it's internal.
It's an internal war.
Yeah.
But it's that sense of like, I'm fucking going to fight. And you will be forced to kill me, universe. You will be forced to kill me.
Right.
But I'm not going to kill myself.
That's why, without stretching it too much, but when I watch movies like 300 or Last Samurai or something, to me, that's spirituality, which may not be the first concept that come to mind when you're watching graphic violence, muscles left and right. But that's what it's about, because it's essentially accepting impossible odds out of which you're not going to get out alive. And you accept it, and then once you accept it, you get this big smile. It's like, what are you gonna do, scare me with death? I've already gotten over it. Fuck you, kill me, I'm here. I'm gonna fight you to the last possible second with a smile on my face, and then you rip my head off. So what? Do it.
Fucking do it. Go for it. I love that, man. That's really cool, because guess what, friends and family, nobody is getting out of here alive.
No, as Jim Morrison would say, yes.
Nobody.
No,
you're gonna die. There's no way out. I love it, man. Your philosophy is so potent, man. It really is. It's so uplifting. It's so great, because we get so caught up in this fucking, it's so easy to become passive and use spirituality as an excuse.
Completely.
When it's better it's that fire of like fighting and deciding to really rise up against the weakness of yourself, overcome yourself.
Shit, man, it was like a year and a half ago, little over a year and a half ago, there was all these nasty things going on in my life. My wife was super sick, and by the time we realized that there was no getting out, that the situation was so horrendously fucked up that there was no getting out, it was weird, because just because you realize it, it doesn't mean it's over right then and then. And so it's like, when I would step away and leave the hospital, I would have the hour or 2 hours break where I go take a shower, where I would collapse, with the ripping me to pieces. But then I would get back in, and it's like, what am I gonna do? Whine and complain? It's like, put a fucking smile back on your face and give her something to smile about. Not bullshit, not feeding her some false hope that's never gonna come true, but just something to smile in the next minute, because that's all that there is. It's like, there's no good outcome, but I have power over this 1 minute, so I'll play with that, and then the minute after that, and then the one after, and then the one after, and knowing that you're not gonna get out, but so what, just because once you accept it, as horrendously, I can't even come up with enough adjectives and how so fucked up it is, and it tears you apart, it also frees you from all the paranoia and the fear and the things that we normally have, because once you accept that it's, there's no getting out alive, as you put it, then you can have a good time in an odd kind of way. You know what I mean? It's that moment where you turn the corner and you're like, fuck it, let's play while it lasts, and it's powerful. There's something there that's really, nobody defeats that, you know what I mean?
No.
But internally you defeat it, because you stop letting it have power over you. And I think that transforms all your actions after that. Because, once you've gone against that kind of shit, it's like, how much worse does it get? I'm sure you can come up even with worse scenarios, but at the same time, it's like, you have really dealt with the ultimate thing that, I've always been scared to death, literally scared to death of death forever. And that has limited me like crazy in so many occasions, so many ways. And so once I realized that all my control freakishness, all my, if I do this, everything is gonna come out okay. No, if I just struggle harder, when I realized that I don't control it and that things will happen anyway,
Yes.
oddly enough, you relax, and everything becomes lighter because...
Right. And what you just described is in the story of the Buddha's enlightenment, the second because Buddha's sitting under the Bodhi tree, about to gain realization, and is tempted by three things. The first being the daughters of Mara, Mara being the spirit of death. The daughters of Mara come to tempt the Buddha. Now, the daughters of Mara are compared to the part of your mind when you start like making progress that says to you, wow, look at you, you're making progress. Well, look who's becoming enlightened. And it's like your ego. Yeah. But Buddha resisted this temptation. The second temptation or test was death. And it was, in the story, it's flowery, but it's like fireballs flung and Buddha had already made up his mind when he went to sit under that Bodhi tree, and he said, I'm either going to gain realization or I'm going to die. Yep. He'd already conquered death. Right. But when those things were flying at him, he smiled at it, and they turned to lotus petals, as they say, or they turned to flowers and fell down to the sky. So what you're talking about is when the great dark force of the universe rears its head and you find yourself in the inevitable hospital room with someone that you love. Absolutely. You have a chance to smile in a real way and turn that moment into fucking flowers. Yep. Whoa.
Well, if you want to hear a story that really is weird, what ended up happening eventually once, because she always knew she didn't want to, she was all about quality of life or nothing,
What was it? What did this, can you talk about the specifics?
Sure. Yeah, no problem. She had, it was weird. It's like in September 2010, she started having pain in her shoulder. It's like a big fucking deal, right? Yeah. Or you sprained something. It's like, by late October, it was getting so bad. They did diagnosis. They said, no, you have multiple sclerosis, which I mean is bad, but it's not, there are ways to manage it. Yes. You can do. Kept getting worse and worse and worse. By January, so very quick progression. Goes in the hospital. She's hardly walking. She can't hold her arm up and all this shit. And they're like, oops, sorry. Turns out it's a brain tumor in a part that we can't operate. But we can give you, a mountain of chemotherapy and shit that may keep you alive for another 3 years in a shitty kind of way. But, you may be... And, the way she had always been was quality or nothing. So she was like, yeah, fuck you, no thanks. And then I remember when... I don't know why, because she was never formally Buddhist or anything, but she decided she wants Buddhist monks. And I'm like, what the hell? I'll find you Buddhist monks right now. I go down the street and there was a Tibetan temple with these weird Tibetan dudes who were come running, clutching Starbucks coffee, because they were, I don't know what the fuck, it was a weird story. But in any case, they show up, and one of the things they say is that when somebody stops breathing, when they go, don't touch them, because they are trying to leave, and if you touch them, you cry in front of them, or you do something, you're holding them back and you're fucking them up. Just let them go. So you step away, leave them there for 2 hours or something, then you can go back. And once you go, of course, your face relaxes, you're not in pain, you're not tense, so it's better, but nothing eventful. 2 more hours go by, I go back into the room, and I kid you not, she has this humongous smile on her face. And I was just like, what the fuck just happened here? It's like, and her sister come in and we look, and I'm like, she's fucking smiling. She didn't smile when she went. She didn't smile an hour. What the hell is going on? And I remember I tried to take a picture of it because I wanted to remember that smile. Yeah. And when I lifted the camera, I couldn't see the smile. And I dropped the camera, and it's right there. And I lift it again, and I can. And I saw. That's when I was like, okay, the universe is so much weirder than anything that I can ever begin to understand.
Yeah.
That, but obviously it made me feel good. It made me feel like if you can die and then smile, shit. What can I say? Man.
That is so intense, man.
Yeah, to say the least.
There's no words for it. There. Yeah, you just got to be brave enough to let go.
Yeah. And I mean, you have to anyway, you know what I mean? Because you can hold on all you want, and you're going to be forced to let go, whether you want it or not. So it might as well be a conscious choice rather than something that you're forced to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing the human capacity to shift, to transmute the darkness into the most beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like what we can do. That's what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
That's our power.
Yep.
And what's more, that's the ultimate power.
Mm-hmm.
That's better than turning lead into gold. You're literally converting the yawning pit into paradise.
Yeah, because at that point, everything is fun. You know what I mean? You can find an element of fun into anything once you deal with the weirdest, toughest shit and find shit. I remember a couple of days later when we were going to have the cremation and stuff, and you're going into this environment that are not happy places, right? And dude was like then giving me the bill, the guy from the mortuary place, and he's like 2,000 some whatever the fuck they charge, right? And I remember I look at the dude and I just pull out my wallet and I took out a quarter and then another 10 cents and then I started counting coins, and I saw the dude looking at me and just suddenly his eyes getting bigger and bigger, like, what the fuck? He's trying to give me $2,000 in coins. And so I started, after I reached like $1 something, I just look up at him. I was like, I'm just fucking with you, And the dude was on the floor. He's like, thanks, man. I don't get to laugh much in my profession, but it's because at that point, you know what I mean? It's like, what is that not gonna make you laugh? It's like, fuck, just.
You're a goddamn alchemist, is what you are, man.
Well,
that's what it is. You're transforming you found a way
mm-hmm.
where the rubber hits the road for you. Is you found a way to convert everything into these bright moments. I'm not saying you're capable of doing it all the time, but you've
definitely not.
You found a connection point. You found you're really good at articulating this, and it's helping me a lot right now. It's really cool, man.
That's why when I get worked up, like, I don't know, I'm playing with my daughter and she's a pain in the ass sometimes, and I get all worked up and I'm pissed and I'm angry, and I'm like, really? I'm angry about she throwing the food on the floor? In the great scheme of things, who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Relax,
Yeah.
And I definitely don't succeed all the time at it. There are the moments where I'm like, God damn it, quit throwing it, and you get, and it gets you again, and that's when you have to kind of cleanse your mind again from all that shit and realize it doesn't mean shit, and you can still be happy and find
You're the opposite of a victim. What you're talking about
Right.
is the opposite of victim mentality. What you're talking
Right.
about is it's number one, it's acknowledging that all phenomena can be converted into something that it at least is alive. At the
Right.
very least is alive. At the very most is like this kind of transcendent, beautiful moment. But the other thing is you're saying you have to fight for that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You have to make the decision to do that. You're the one who has to make this fight, and it's the fight is worth it.
Yeah, because I mean, you're gonna get ripped to pieces anyway.
Yes.
And I don't mean just the final outcome in objective sense. Even internally, there's not that, oh, I'm gonna choose to take it positively and suddenly, Disney music comes on and everything is happy, because it's not. You still feel the moments where it just rips you to the inside, and you have. So it's almost like you need to know how to deal with, yeah, your heart got crushed. Now what? Can we move on? It's like.
Yeah.
You need to be able, because you're gonna get there anyway, and you can either be, as you put it, the victim, where it happens to you and there's nothing you can do about it, or it happens to you just the same way, and you find a way to roll with it, or to even raise the middle finger to it all and force a smile on your face and go with it. And again, it's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna work every time. I don't even know it works. I can only speak about the past, because I don't know what I'm gonna do the next second. Maybe in the exact same situation, I wouldn't be able to pull it off right this minute.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not that.
Right.
But that's the goal, at least, to try to go
And
that
you
route.
did it.
Right.
The thing is, you already did it, man. And by
Right.
doing it, not only did you do it for yourself, and did you do it for your kids, and you've done it for everyone who hears the story. Because it's like, just for me listening to you, and I think about like what happened to you, that experience, and how incredibly emotionally catastrophic, apocalyptic
Right.
that experience is. And then I think about my own little like mewling little, hipster doldrums that I fall into,
Right.
and suddenly I'm just invigorated with a
Right.
sense of like, fuck that, man. I'm not gonna fucking
Right.
lay on my I'm not gonna show my fucking belly to this fuck universe over a few
Right.
fucking crap days. You know,
Right.
so it's a gift that you give in overcoming and conquering the dragon when it emerges, as it did for you in that
Right.
intense way. Because everybody else who maybe has smaller little lizards wandering around their house is like, fuck that. I'm just
Yeah.
going to crush this thing with my heel and move on.
And that's the same thing I do for myself, because like now when all the shit that gets to me, and then I think it in relative terms, and I'm like, really, I'm letting this shit get to
Right.
me? Come on.
Come
you
on.
know? It's like, I've been through wars, right? This
Yes.
is gonna bug me?
No. Once you decide to raise that fucking finger, man, it's time to party. That's
Yep.
what it comes down to. Once you make that decision,
Yep.
all this phenomena just becomes tender. It becomes not tender in the sense of soft, tender in the sense of firewood, fuel.
Right. Yep.
That
Yep.
you can use that one moment. You're right, man. That one moment you decide, I'm going to live.
Mm-hmm.
That's the spark.
Yep.
And you can set anything on fire with that,
Big
pretty
time.
much. Anything in this material universe cannot withstand that kind of fire.
Right.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it boils down to when you walk out the door, how do you relate to other human beings? I
Yes.
don't care about what people say, what theology they espouse, what church they go to or they don't go to. I don't even judge it that way. I don't care. You know, it works for you. You go to church 7
Yeah.
days a week at the weird church that I don't like. Who cares? I want to see how you act.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that matters
Yeah.
to me. How you relate to other human beings. Then if you are a sweet, nice person who, as you put it last time, brings strawberry to your neighbors, then I don't need to agree with your theology.
Right.
Whatever you're doing is good.
Yeah.
It's working for you.
Yeah.
You know? So that, to me, what it boils down to. It's all the theory in the world. It's only interesting in the measure that it leads to action.
Yeah.
And what kind of action is that?
Yes. Yeah, there's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita which says, I can't remember exactly how it goes. It's really cool, though. It's, many people get attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, is what it says. The flowery words of Scripture. You get attached to this kind of like the beauty of like the verses, but then that's as far as you go with it. Where every single day you get an opportunity to do a real sacrifice. And this doesn't mean that you have to give up something you love. It means you can give up fear.
Yeah.
Every day you get this amazing chance to give up fear.
Yep.
You get this incredible chance to sacrifice fear and on the altar of action. And that fucking action can be ask the girl for her phone number. Yep. Do the thing that makes your pulse go up. Do the thing that makes your heart flutter. Do that thing. That's living.
Tell her you like her.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And you know what? You'll know that you are knocking on the door of novelty when you feel that thing surge in your heart. Where you're like, oh fuck, I can't do this. I can't do this. I don't know. I'm not gonna do it. I can't do it. That's where you need to be.
Absolutely.
That's the place to exist. Because whether on the other side of that door is a gaping embarrassment, or whether on the other side of the door is the most incredible sex of your life,
Right.
you're still a million times better off.
You did it. That itself is awesome.
That's
you
all
went
that matters.
for it, and there's no way to ensure results.
Yeah.
It could go, as you say, horrendously bad. It could go awesome. But the fact that you took the step, that's great in itself.
That's the move.
Yep.
Oh, the move. I
yeah.
love that, man. And this is where these motherfucking God clowns teach people to go against that feeling. Play it safe. Don't feel that rush of the pulse. Don't feel that exhilaration that is the source of all happiness. Live in some static, boring, monotonous, ordered life and pretend to be happy.
That's what being saintly is all about, to try to stay away from life, really, to stay away from anything that has a pulse, that's scary,
Yeah.
that goes boom during the night,
Yeah.
that, all of the stuff that makes life interesting, passion,
Yeah.
that's what is dangerous and you need to stay away from and all of that. And he's like, tell them all to fuck off.
Yeah.
And go, because that's the opposite of spirituality in my mind. That's really like what you're saying, that's spirituality. Taking that plunge, that's what it is.
It's not comfortable.
No, not at all.
It's not like the taking those plunges. If it was comfortable, it wouldn't mean anything. This is the leap of faith.
Yep.
When people hear the leap of faith, when I was growing up and heard the leap of faith, yawn city. Like when you consider that, it's like, oh God, great, faith. Is there anything more boring than faith when you're a kid? No. When someone starts yapping about fucking faith, just blow your head. Shut up about faith. Yeah. But then when you start understanding what faith is, that idea of like, no, you are held up by this incredible harmonious universe, and that you're going to be fine no matter what.
Right.
Now that doesn't mean you're going to stay alive.
No.
When we say you're going to be fine, that doesn't mean that you're not necessarily going to end up, because of your leap of faith, going to end up splattering all over the fucking sidewalk or ending up in some really, really like sticky predicament. But what it means is that ultimately, it's this decision it's a decision you make.
Right.
Isn't it a kind of, what do they call it? What do they call talk about the apocalypse? Eschatological, is that the word for it?
Yeah.
It's an eschatological decision where you've decided that no matter what's happening in the temporary flow of the phenomena that makes up your life, at the end of the river of time, there is going to be an incredible orgasm of perfection, and you're part of the matter that's going to be part of that orgasm. So you might as well move in the direction of the light, right? That's faith, right?
Yep. I like your definition of faith is by far the best I've ever heard. I dig it.
Thanks. Yeah, man. And that, God damn it, means that when you go knocking on these fucking doors, you have this sense inside of you that, look, man, it's just going to work out.
Right. And yeah, because it independent of a result. The result you can control. Nothing in life you control the outcome. What you control is you, in that sense, whether you go for it or not, whether you take the risk. And it's exhilarating. I mean, it's scary as hell. But when you get over the fear, there's a moment of exhilaration of like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm going to do it. Let's go for it. And anything can happen. There's no way to know what's going to happen. And that feeling itself that anything can happen is what makes you feel alive.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And you can be certain that one thing you're going to get in the other side of that door is truth.
Yep.
It's going to be truth one way or the other, but it's definitely going to be truth about the way things really are.
Yep.
You know, when you go to try to kiss the girl, one way or the other, you are going to have an answer to the burning question inside of you as to whether or not this human has some attraction for you.
I see that's on your mind a little bit, huh?
You know, the thing is, it's like once you start, you got to start where you're at. And a great way to overcome fear is to start with girls, if you're a guy, or if you're a girl, you know. And for the girls listening, sorry, I didn't mean to make this like a misogynistic, gender-based thing. I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. For girls, it's the same fucking thing, man. Go for it. Like, girls are, it's sad because girls get trapped in a, they get like, a guy's expected to go for it with a girl. A girl has this extra guilt if she goes for it with a guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, the amount of bullshit that has been put on women's sexuality throughout history in most parts of the world is downright. It's it's one of the most fucked up things ever done in human history. I mean, it's like the amount of repression that exists for everybody, men and women, but particularly women.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just... it really amazes me, and it pisses me off to no end when you hear all the people who reinforce that sense of shame over going for it, or you're expected then, if you do go for it, which is already like this dangerous thing that only men should do, what the hell are you doing, you're acting like a man, then if it doesn't work, triple shame, because you know you're supposed to be pursued, what are you doing pursuing somebody? And it's like, that just, it just make me shudder. You know, all of that stuff is And by the way, I'm saying that so that women will find me sweet and lovable and think that
And
I'm
try to
more
kiss you.
Exactly. So,
Ladies,
yeah, that's what it's all about.
go for it. Just do it. Everyone should just be going for it. These goddamn formalities are just ruining everything. There's so many things. It's interesting. It's like there does seem to be built into the universe. I think Joseph Campbell calls them portal guardians. It's like the embodiment of resistance inevitably appears in the form of dumb rules, or sometimes a person.
Right.
Sometimes a person will try to get in between you and someone else, or in between you and some success. Usually it's a person. A portal guardian pops up. But so it seems like what's coming out of this conversation is an assignment for the people listening for this week. So what's your assignment for the people listening?
Actually, I have one, but that's slightly off from our conversation right now. But it's actually goes back to stuff we were talking about before when we were talking about fear and talking about one thing that I can't believe in all the discussions we had about fear, even in previous podcasts, I never clicked in my mind at the time was because you mentioned, how do you defeat certain fears? How do you defeat heavy depression? How do you defeat all those emotions that are dragging you down and just sucking the life out of you, and not in a good way? And one thing that I realize is that the only thing that sometimes has allowed me to get over some of those emotions has been love for somebody else, not for myself.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes when you're terrorized by something, it's like you're just terrorized. There's nothing, no amount of rationality, no message, no self-motivation, no ego is going to get you over it. At least not for me a lot of the time.
Yes.
But suddenly if I think that me not being able to get over this will hurt somebody else that I love, boom, now it's done.
Right.
It's the same thing as like the scariest image in the world, the scariest, whatever scares you the most. You want to be as far away from it as possible. But if you picture somebody you loved in the same place, you would just be diving right in to save them, quote unquote.
Yes.
It's weird. It's like we can do stuff for others that we can do for ourselves. So assignment number 1 would be pick one person, living, dead, doesn't matter. Somebody that you love a lot, and you think that getting over your depression, getting over your fear, getting over your whatever the fact it is that's limiting you, is something that they would be happy about. And probably they would, because they love you and they care for you. So them would be happy about if you could do it. So that's your job for the day.
There you go. That's really fucking cool, man. And I like that it can be someone who's not alive now.
Of course.
It could be someone who exists back in the river of time. He might have already passed on, but they're still around. If time's an illusion and everything's happening at once, they're just not at the particular sector of the universe you happen to be in.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I love it, man. That's good. That is some incredible advice, man. And now I'm going to give my assignment.
Please. Go.
You gotta kiss that sweetie. If you've been putting it off, for those of you who've been putting it off, guy or gal, you gotta go for it this week. We're all gonna die.
Right.
Pretty much everything that you're attached to in your life, you're attached to it in the same way that you were attached to the toys that you had in your crib. Mm-hmm. Eventually, you gotta get out of the crib and start playing with the toys. Unfortunately, the crib is your body.
Yeah. And all the stuff in this life that you're attached to, you're all gonna lose. People, objects,
mommy,
fame,
daddy,
memory, everything. It's all gonna go.
Yeah.
So this whole journey is a serious lesson in non-attachment.
Yeah.
Not because there's anything wrong. I mean, fuck, I got attached to everything. It's natural. It's normal. You like things, and because you like them, you want them to stay there forever.
Yes.
And so you're attached to their reality.
Yes.
Which, in a world that's constantly changing, being attached to something, staying the same, good luck with that. Have fun with that concept, because it's not going to happen. It's a recipe for misery constantly.
Yes.
And so then you have the weird paradox of how can you love deeply and intensely and enjoy life not being attached? Because, the typical thing you say is non-attachment, just neither this nor that.
Yes.
Be the monk up on a mountain who looks at it all go by without passion, ultimately.
Pussy.
Exactly. And it's like, that's not an alternative. That's been dead before even been dead,
Yeah.
you know? And so that combination of being able to love deeply and intensely people, life itself, the whole thing, while at the same time not being attached because you know it's all going to be taken away from you.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like it's pulling you in so many opposite directions at the same time. And yeah, when you're able to ride it, it's amazing.
Yes. And you won't be able to ride it all the time,
No,
right?
of course not. And that's you're regularly going to fuck up and then you catch yourself. And, the more you're used to, once you've done it once right, I think it's easier to get there.
Yeah.
But of course, there's no guarantee, because everyone is going to lose balance and it's a matter of figuring out
Sure.
how to get back.
This through, exercise, through getting in shape, is you get success through failure.
Mm-hmm.
You get success through your muscles being too tired to
Yep.
work anymore. And that's pretty cool, man. And through stand-up, you get success through failure.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, through this practice of you're going to get in big blow up fights with you start this practice. This is you've heard the term meditation as the practice as practice for death. Have you ever?
Yeah.
Totally right.
Absolutely.
Totally get what that means. So you're going to so that basically the entire universe becomes a dojo, right?
That's what it is. I mean, conflict is all around us all the time. There's
Yeah.
always the conflict between how we want reality to be and how it actually is.
Yes.
So, yeah, you can either get kicked day and night forever or figure out a way to ride a wave, which doesn't mean it makes it all okay, because dying sucks, losing your loved one sucks.
Yes.
There are million things that will rip you to pieces and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yes.
So it's not to say, no, really, it's all part of this beautiful. No, it's not fucking beautiful at all. It's horrible. At the same time, there's so much beauty going on at the same time that being able to acknowledge the horror of it all while enjoying the beauty of it all, that's something.
Now, when you say that, what comes to my mind is I think, well, I wonder this, and maybe this is a cop-out, but I think, okay, isn't it more that it's not beautiful and it's not horrible? It's neither of these two things, that these two things are just a sort of a linguistic form of attaching the mind to infinity.
The universe is what it is, It doesn't give a
Yes.
fuck one way or another.
Yeah.
It's not good or bad. It's not doing something to spite you or to help you.
Yeah.
It's nothing, So in that sense, there is no moral dimension. There is no either thing. But we, being human, perceiving things the way we do, being animals, having the mind that works in a certain way. Yes, there is. And that's what makes life fun, at least from our perspective, is the contrast of it all.
Let's take the worst case.
Right.
Worst case. Child dead.
Right.
Now,
That's as bad as it gets, right?
that's pretty much as bad as it gets.
Yeah.
So now you have this phenomena that's emerged into your life
Yeah.
that is indescribably fucked up.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, fuck. You decide if it's good or bad, man.
Yeah, I mean,
If you decide that's good, what are you? You're a praying mantis.
Yeah.
You're an inhuman thing. To
Yeah.
honor that situation,
Yeah.
you have to address it from the perspective of like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're full of shit.
Totally. It sounds like you are just out of fear. You're superimposing this abstract philosophy on life, trying to sugarcoat it ultimately. No, it's really part of a divine plan and he's with the Lord now, or it cannot be a religious explanation. It can be another one, but
that's nerfing it. That's
Yeah.
nerfing it. It's putting nerfs. We want to peel away
right.
as much as we can every single layer of bullshit away from the phenomena until we get to what it really is.
Yeah.
But the word horrible or terrible, it seems fucking weird to me. I'm trying to think of like another way.
Don't think it in objective terms. Like horrible or terrible is an objective idea. It's more like heartbreaking.
Yes.
That's your feeling,
Yes,
it's
yes,
inside
yes,
of you. It's in the great scheme of things, horrible, not horrible, who the fuck knows and who cares? It breaks your heart. That's what it does.
So you have a broken heart.
Yeah.
What do you do, Matt? This is I want to think about here in this situation. The action that you take. I'm trying to empathize. I can't empathize with it.
The thing I was, you mean the specific example you brought up, or in general?
I can't put my mind even close to the proximity of what that would be like. I can't even it's like trying to imagine what it'd be like to be incinerated by an atomic bomb.
No, and I mean, the thing is, there is, you can have the best philosophy in the world, you can have experience, harsh stuff, and still everybody has a breaking point. You know what I mean? And that's the part also I don't like about the typical follow a recipe and you will be empowered and your life will be great. It's bullshit because everybody has a breaking point. So you can do everything right and you can still get hit with so much one day that you just can't deal with it. And
what are you then?
And
when you can't deal with it, what is that state? How would you describe that state? What is that?
Well, I don't know if there is even a way to describe it. Is life applied, it's almost physics, life applied enough pressure and just the total sum of your energy can sustain that pressure and you get crushed. And it's not that you're stupid or you're weak or you're whatever, that's how it played out.
Now you're crushed.
Yep.
You're a singularity. Mm-hmm. You're like what happens when light goes into a black hole.
Right.
What are you there?
If you're still alive, you are breathing, you have opportunities, you decide what you are at that point, if you're able to. Maybe you can't and you've been pinned so much that all you can do is breathe and eat, but you're not really alive anymore because your inside has been squashed so bad. Maybe there's still something left there that you can find a way. And nobody can give you the way. That's the thing. Nobody can tell. People can tell you what they have done in their situation, and then may give you ideas that then you create the way with it. But nobody can give you a preset plan of if you do this, then all is going to be okay. It's an individual journey.
It's the big wave, motherfucker. Yeah. Now it's like the big wave.
Yep.
It's like that thing, when you see like the surfer who gets the big wave. It's that, and usually those waves just crush you.
Yeah, nobody can teach you how to.
What are you gonna do? Right. It's like, what do you do? I'm asking you, what do you do when you find yourself completely in the grasp of 5 trillion gallons of water?
Yeah, that fucking sucks.
Like being just tossed and turned on the wind. Just tumbling through this whole new, you've broken into this whole new universe. Quite often it's a universe where the thing you love most is gone.
Yep.
Everyone you loved is gone, or you're going.
Yep.
You're tumbling in the wind. Yeah, it's like, but man, I don't know. I don't think we disagree, but there's some part of me that feels like even in that, and I do not want to find out, but there's some part of me that feels like even in that fucking moment, there will be that existential absurdity that kicks in, where you can still smile.
Yeah. No, I believe it. I don't think it's not possible. I totally believe it's possible. I just don't know that it's not guaranteed. Let's put it that way.
Not guaranteed, especially if you watch TV all the fucking time. If you're obsessed with keeping up with the Kardashians,
right.
If you haven't studied the scriptures, if you don't meditate, if you don't prepare yourself, dude, you got to get ready for the fight, you motherfuckers, because it's coming.
Yep,
winter is coming.
Absolutely, and not only you're not ready for that moment because you definitely aren't, but you also are not enjoying life as much as you think you are.
Right.
Because once you face deep stuff, then every single damn moment is so much more fun. Because you know that it's going to go in a second and you're going to lose it. So you might as well dive 300% of yourself right here, right now, because that's all you got, right?
Yes.
And so it's like you taste it all. You embrace it. That was my, you're dead already. Let's have a party. It's like that attitude of, which is not denying all the ugliness of it all. And that, I guess, was my point. Is I'm not denying any of this stuff. I don't want to sound like some cheapery. It's all for the best or some shit.
You really don't sound like that.
You look at all the hard stuff, you acknowledge it, and you find a way to laugh anyway.
Yeah.
And even the other day, this was minor. I was just having a shitty day, and I was like, I could hear it in my mind after a while. I was going, I am so tired. Oh, fuck. I have all these things I want to do. I have no energy, and this thing is going on, and that other, and this asshole that called, and all this mental stuff. And it was making me miserable. I was spent hours being miserable like that until finally I was listening to myself, and I was like, I started making fun of myself. I was like, yeah, poor Daniele, boo-hoo-hoo, that's so sad. It's life is so mean to you.
Yeah.
It's like you sound so stupid when you realize what you're doing that it makes you laugh.
Yeah.
And you stop taking yourself so damn seriously.
Sure.
Because it's like, come on, man. It's like the psychological thing that's going on there when we whine like that is that we expect that, like when you're a kid and you whine hoping that your parents will pay attention to you then and give you what you want. It's like we're whining to the universe, like, can't you see I'm having a hard time? I deserve a toy now, please. And it's like, it's so silly that you can't help but laugh at yourself. And then you just like, just shut up and get back to business and take care.
Yeah, and that thing you just said is, I think it's a form of ritual. That's a form of ritual, and that's a form of like, that's why there's ritual, and that's why there's ceremony. All this stuff's real. Affirmations work.
Yep.
Saying like, I'm not, but more than anything, man, I think it's finding the fight. It's fighting the battle. Why people like to go to war. Because it gives you this like life and death experience that is unlike any other thing.
Yep. You find out what really you are made of under fire. You find out what really counts for you. You find out there's truth in combat, so to speak, whether real combat or metaphorical combat. But you find out a lot about reality.
So war is good.
Sure, that's exactly what we were saying, right? War is good.
No, but I see why we're addicted to it.
Of course.
As a species, I see why we're fucking always mainlining war into our goddamn arm, because it's not just from money. It's because it's something about the fight and something about the campaign and the what do they call it? The theater of battle.
Right. In order not to be sued, in order not to offend everybody, in order to have some objective standards, you can't really have too much of a subjective part in education, except that the subjective part, both the teacher and the person and the students, that's the real life. The objective stuff is information you fill your head in, which it's knowledge and not wisdom. You know what I mean? Wisdom is by definition subjective in a way. It's very real, but it's not something that some guy can show up and be like, I'm going to give you this thing, this wisdom stuff that how do you do multiple choice about wisdom? You know what I mean? You do multiple choice about knowledge. You can test that stuff. And so schools in that sense have nothing to do with making you into a complete human being, into somebody who has the wisdom. And again, by wisdom, we're not talking about anything weird or mystical. It's like wisdom is in knowing how to live life well. That's it, So and that's, which is the most primary thing that everybody needs to deal with, is certainly not what we do in school, or it's not part of the goals of the
Not
thing.
at all.
No, it certainly has nothing to do with the content. The experience of school can be cool, meet people, all of that. But as far as what you're taught, the way it's taught, what you're taught, what it's designed to do, no, that's not the point. We are at the edge. As in terms of humanity, when you think about it, we are running out of resources. There's more and more of us every day. We are facing a very real potential catastrophe on the star ecosystem we rely on. We are, all the dangers are incredibly high, and there's no real solution any second now. And at the same time, the possibilities are amazing, because we have technologies right now that we had never had before that allow us to connect with people across the world at instant. It's amazing. It's one of the most thrilling times to be alive ever, because there's a abyss right next to us that we can crash and burn into. We are right there on that rope, and it can go either way.
Lizardy old shitbags who fucking want to control and repress people and information, and who just feel it's totally cool to make money off of bombs.
Yep.
That's it. That's the war. That's
Absolutely.
the battle. Got to get rid of them. Got to chop them out. As far as the resource thing goes, as far as the fucking the resource thing. Well, you know what? Let's see how much resources we have once we stop spending all the money we're spending on war every single month. What's left over?
Absolutely.
I think there's some money there there might be some money to play around with after you cease all war.
And the point is, some of it is material, like his money and stuff, for sure, and some of it is just environmental. And but money speaks in that sense, so you do have the possibility with shifting your priorities, putting money into saving essentially our ecosystem, the very foundations of life, which when you think about it, shouldn't even be a political issue. It's not a liberal or conservative thing. Is nobody wants to poison the water they drink and the air they breathe. It's that simple, right? And yet it seems complicated because greed is so damn powerful. Short-term, stupid greed that's about everything for me right now.
that stands in the way of policies that actually make sense and are logical. Again, not based on a particular ideology, based on not being an idiot who destroy its own home. It's interesting because good changes have been going on, and at the same time the speed of destruction increases as well. So it's like both horses are running really damn fast.
Yes.
Lots of awesome things happening every day, improving the quality of our lives, giving us more hope.
Yes.
And more destruction and crap and horrible things. People like to keep it simple, so people are all like, this terrible and horrible world we live in. And I'm like, yeah, there's that, but you're missing completely the other side. That's amazing. Or it's in this fantasy of, it's all for the best, it's all gonna work out, it's all, it's like, dude, are you looking at the same shit I'm looking at? Because there's some pretty scary,
there's
nasty
some dangerous
stuff.
stuff, man. But I did read this, there was a salon.com article on like how actually this has been the best year in human history based on, did you see that?
No, I didn't.
So it's like, this has been the best year in human history. Now, everything in that article was cool except for one part, which then I kind of stopped reading. But I like some of the stats based on like homicide rates and things in like disease and like other different stuff that's been going on. Like, we really are getting a lot of this shit on lock. But then I kind of stopped reading it when it's like, and as far as resources go, we have this wonderful new technology called fracking.
It's like,
Fracking? That's fucked. You mean the thing that causes earthquakes and people's water to catch on fire? That's a problem. We have our energy problem.
Yeah.
We have an energy problem.
big one.
It's just fun to consider a month.
Yep.
If we figured out a way to turn war off for a month on the planet,
Right.
just for a month, all wars stop. Just, I know this is a thought experiment. I know it's not right, but if you could do it for a month, all wars stop, all work stops. No more, nobody works. We're all going to fucking gather together and try to figure out, we're going to get the smartest people that we can find. We use all the money. Is there a way that we can come up with fusion? Is there a way that we can come up with like endless, infinite resources, teleportation, time travel? What would happen in a month? After that month, what kind of fucking planet would we be living on, man? Let's all get to fucking gather and figure out what we've learned in these incarnations and see what happens. And goddamn it, with the technology accessible to us today, we could almost do it. We can almost fucking do it. This is a potential.
Yep.
We're able to organize massive campaigns where we move huge amounts of metal and equipment and machinery to different continents to blow people up. Damn it, if we could figure out a way to use that same organizational system to fucking gather people, really brilliant people together to have, I don't know what you'd call it. I don't know what you'd call the fucking meetings, but some kind of like on a global, massive scale, the governments have to get involved. That's the problem. These old shitbags won't buy this. These old fucking long-toothed old fucking wolves, they're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
That's the problem, with any kind of an institution is the people who run them.
Yeah.
Because anything, if you substitute with cool human beings, any institution, even a state, which in many ways is a weird form of organization, can work if the people involved in it are all amazing. But that's not life. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
But at the same time is what the hell? And there are ways now where today the average individual has more power than it did throughout most of human history, just because you have access to, just the fact that right now we can talk into some cheap microphones. We need new ones, by the way.
Yeah,
and we talk into some cheap microphones, and thousands of people in multiple countries will get to think about it and discuss it and chat it with their friends and say, oh, that was such bullshit, or no, that was great, or something, think, to blow our mind, right now, in this very second, we are talking to way more people than Jesus ever got to do in his entire life.
Right.
That's weird.
That's fucking weird.
And that's the potential that exists today. So in some way, it has to be organized at the top level. In some way, it doesn't, because there's so much amazing stuff that happen. Internet has changed everything. It really has.
It's got to. I don't like organization. I don't really like the term, but somebody's got to. There's got to be like some kind of spontaneous collectivity that starts happening where people like in a realistic way figure out a way to like fortify and strengthen communities that are inclusive and connective, and then figure out a way to make super collectives that meet other super collectives and make others bigger collectives that then share information freely with no price on it, with the intention of improving humanity's ability to exist on this planet.
Ideally is also stuff that leads to action, because the best philosophy in the world, if it stays something that people talk it's useless. You
Right.
know, it has to translate to action in life.